So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my threads here, and I'm going to start, hopefully it will work here. Sometimes these threads get kind of locked, and so you have to be careful. Okay, so let me just make sure we got these working. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to grab, you only grab your bobbin threads. So now I'm going to grab those, and do you see how I hang on to the fabric as I pull it along these threads? Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and pull it. I'm actually going to put another pin where the gathers start, and I'm going to pull this up until I can get the fabrics the same length. Now, because I need to actually gather it past the pin, I'm just going to push my gathers into the other area. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling these threads to get my gathers, but I have to go at least halfway over because I've got threads on each side, but I've got to go halfway over. So I push the fabric along the threads till I get to the other pin, and then I go on the other side of the pin to pull them over. So do you see how I'm pulling this? And this is kind of tricky because we got lots of gathers, so gathers can drive you crazy sometimes. But see, here's this isn't sliding too good, so I've got to kind of help it here. All right, so there we go. And I just keep working with this until I can get it the length I want. So I'm gonna show, I'll keep working with this to show you how we do it. Okay, but I'm almost got enough for that one. I need for that one section. My pin's coming out, which is okay because I can put it back in. But let me gather a little bit more here. Oh, this pin's it's kind of coming out here. All right, so okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now that I've got this pulled up, I got to make sure these I need a little bit more, but I'm noticing that the one thread is loose and the other ones are tight, so I'm just going to pull that one thread and kind of try and even those up a little bit more. Okay, and it could be that when I put that pin in, it might have, there, let's see if that helps. The pin might have been in the way of this thread, that one thread. Okay, I think that's looking good. Okay, so can you see how I've pulled this up to where it's matching up? Okay, except for that very bottom one, it's a little bit loose on there, so I'm going to have to kind of pull that one a little bit more to get it to match up with the other ones. Okay, all right, so I think I've got that. So now, so I've got the same amounts right here. So I'm going to go ahead, and then this one, I do need to pull it up more right here. So I've got to just find my threads again on the one side. Okay, so that is matching up. Okay, so now I've got to put my pin back in right here where my gathers start. And once I've got the amount pulled up to and have formed my gathers, then I'm going to take these basting threads and I need to keep them secure so I don't lose my gathers. So now what I do is I take it and I wrap it around the pin. Okay, so I take those and I'm just going to wrap it, get them all together. I'm going to wrap that around, okay, and do a figure 8. Okay, there we go. Do you see how I'm doing that figure 8? Okay, so that makes my thread secure, so now I can adjust my gathers without losing them. Okay, and so now I'm just going to distribute them a little bit more evenly until I get this right where I want. Okay, and it's kind of right here at the end. It's tricky because you want it also to have that even. Now when I sew this, I'm going to permanently stitch between the 1/2 inch basting and the 3/4 basting, so that I always make sure my permanent stitching is right between the 2 basting lines, so that it secures those gathers on both sides. And then also here right at the end, it's some of the stitches have kind of come out, so when I'm stitching at the very end, I kind of make sure my little folds are looking good. Okay, all right, so that's part is done. And if I need to put another pin in there, then I'll just secure it like this. Okay, so now that's ready to sew. I don't like what's happening here, but I'll just make sure that I keep these little folds going. Okay, because my pins, it's kind of, a few stitches have come out is what's happened, and so I'm not getting the gathers that I want right here on the edge. So I'm just kind of putting them together, making sure they're where they go. And then I will put another pin right here in the middle, and then that is got them where they need to go. I'm going to take this pin out and just make sure these are kind of even right here. Okay, so this gets tricky when you have that much fullness. All right, but I think that looks good. Okay, now I've got this half. Now I've got to do this half. So on this half, I'm going to actually come over on this side, and I'm going to do the same thing that I just did. I'm going to grab my, got to find these pieces, okay. Okay, so I've got to find, oh, here we are. Here's that one. I've got to find the threads only on one side. Okay, so here's my threads. And now I will start, I'll hang on to those and gently start to pull in my gathers. See how that works? You just hang on to this and slide that fabric along those lines, okay? So I'm going to do the same thing here that I did on the other side. I'm going to pull up my gathers until the edges match, and then I secure the basting stitches, and then I make sure they're even, and I pin them down. Okay, so I've got to go across the pin right now. Okay, and make sure that this is going to the other side. Okay, so can you see how this takes some time, and you just gently work at it until you get all of your gathers where you want them to be. Okay, see, I'm pulling these right up to this edge. Now if your basting stitches are too long for your fabric, then you're not going to get small little folds like what you want. If your basting stitches are too short, then your fabric is not going to be able to be pulled along. So if I was gathering denim, I would go to 5 millimeters. If I was gathering chiffon, I could probably gather them at 3 instead of 4 like I have. But for a mid-weight, average, kind of a mid-weight fabric, then the 4 millimeters works good. Okay, so can you see I've got those edges matching now, and I've got these edges, and I need to pull up this one. Again, that last row kind of gets, there we go. Okay, so once I get these all pulled up to where I want, then I will wrap them around my pin. Let's get those 3 threads. Okay, so I'll wrap those around the pin. Let me do that again. Okay, here we go. And the last time I think I pulled too tight and it caused kind of a dent. But I got that wrapped and secured. Now I can actually move my gathers back towards the edge without losing them, so that I can get that distributed nice and even. Okay, so that's a sign of good quality gathers, is that they've got small little folds and they're distributed evenly. I don't want to have a big flat spot and then a bunch of gathers flat spot gathers. No, you want those all to be together. Okay, so I pretty much now have this side done. So I am going to finish working on the other areas, just like I've done this one. And then I will go ahead and permanently stitch between the 1/2 inch row of basting and the 3/4 inch, so that I'm stitching right in the middle of those 2 rows. Okay, and then I'll show you what we do next to the seam.